There are secrets buried in the shadows, hidden before mankind even knew the light. Ancient legends, lost scriptures, forbidden knowledge, stories whispered only by madmen. Among them, one tale speaks of angels who betrayed their creator, performing horrific experiments upon humanity. They were called the Watchers, the guardians of heaven. But they abandoned the light, descending into darkness. In the age when man first gazed upon the heavens, they saw radiant beings descending from the sky. Angels with wings of fire, eyes like burning stars, bearing knowledge that mortals were never meant to wield. But this knowledge was not a gift, it was a curse. The Watchers, 200 fallen angels, defied divine law. They granted mankind forbidden secrets, metalworking, sorcery, the anatomy of flesh, and the mysteries of life itself. But their greatest sin was their experiments. They did not merely teach men to fight. They changed them. They mixed their own blood with humans and beasts, creating creatures that did not belong in this world. The Nephilim, giant offspring of angels and mortals, were born in agony and madness. But they were only the beginning. The experiments did not stop with mankind. The Watchers took the wild creatures and altered them, merging them with their own kind and with men. The results were horrors that should never have existed, beasts that modern man dismisses as myths. In the twilight of the First Age, when the Watchers still walked among men, their hunger for dominion and knowledge grew unchecked. They were no longer satisfied with corrupting the daughters of man, nor with fathering the Nephilim. The hunger of these fallen beings drove them to twist the fabric of creation itself. The Watchers, once celestial beings, possessed knowledge beyond human comprehension. They knew the hidden laws of flesh and spirit, of life and death. They sought to create new beings, creatures neither angel nor beast nor man, but something in between. They broke the natural order, merging the essence of their own celestial forms with the bodies of animals. They performed rituals in darkened groves, beneath bleeding moons, drawing power from the chasms between worlds. Their experiments birthed abominations that defied the very will of the Creator. The world still trembles from their creations. The centaurs, the blood hunters of the wilds. Half-man, half-horse abominations with glowing red eyes and an insatiable hunger. The first centaurs were not the noble warriors of Greek legend. They were something far worse. Born of men twisted with the bodies of beasts, their forms were grotesque, a fusion of muscle and sinew, their human torsos riddled with scars of unnatural birth. Their eyes glowed with an eerie crimson, an everlasting sign of the Watchers' corruption. They were bred for war. These monstrosities were unstoppable hunters, their elongated limbs allowing them to outrun the swiftest prey. Their once human minds had been fragmented and shattered by the unnatural fusion, leaving them as creatures of hunger and rage. Legends whisper that they roamed the earth, feeding upon the flesh of man and beast alike. They did not kill for sustenance alone, but for pleasure. Their twisted souls craved the terror of their victims. When the great flood came, most were drowned beneath the rising waters, but not all of them. Some were said to have retreated to the deepest, most forgotten valleys, where the world had yet to reclaim them. Even now, in places where the forests are thick and untouched, there are those who claim to hear the pounding of hooves in the darkness and see shadows that are neither beast nor man. The sirens, voices from the abyss. Winged creatures with human faces whose songs drove men to madness before dragging them into the depths. The Watchers, in their arrogance, turned their gaze toward the sky and the sea. They saw the birds that soared above men, free from the chains of earth. They saw the depths of the oceans, the abyss where no mortal dared to go. And so they reached into these realms, warping the creatures of flight and water into terrifying new forms. The sirens were their most insidious creation. These beings were neither fully avian nor human, but an abominable combination of the two. Their bodies were covered in dark, obsidian-like feathers, their talons sharp enough to slice through bone. But their faces were disturbingly human, beautiful yet inhuman, their expressions frozen in an eternal state of longing. But it was not their form that made them so dangerous, it was their voices. They sang not with joy nor sorrow, but with an ancient, unholy hunger. Their melodies did not soothe. They pierced the soul, igniting a madness in those who heard them. A single note could unravel the mind of a man. Sailors of old told tales of men who leapt into the sea, their eyes vacant, their faces stretched into expressions of joy and terror as they willingly sank beneath the waves. Entire villages near the coasts were said to have walked into the water, never to be seen again. The sirens did not devour their prey. They did something worse. They would carry them into the abyss, dragging them into the ruins beneath the waves, where something older and more terrible waited. Some say the sirens still lurk in the deepest oceans, their songs hidden beneath the waves, waiting for the right moment to call mankind back to the darkness. The Sumerian beasts, guardians of the forgotten tombs. Hybrid demons of monstrous form, with wings, claws, and strength beyond human comprehension. Before the flood, the Watcher's influence spread across ancient civilizations. Among the ruins of Sumer, Babylon, and the lost cities beneath the sands, there are carvings of monstrous figures, beasts with human faces, the wings of great birds, and the bodies of lions or bulls. These were not idols. They were not merely depictions of gods. They were real. The Watchers had created guardian beasts, creatures imbued with immense power, stationed to protect their sacred sites. The most well-known of these were the Lamassu and Pazuzu. The Lamassu stood at the gates of ancient temples, their piercing eyes watching the movements of man, judging those who passed before them. In the days before the flood, these creatures did not merely stand as statues. They moved, they breathed, they whispered in languages no human could understand. The Pazuzu were far worse. They were beasts of wind and pestilence, messengers of death, creatures that spread madness wherever they went. Some say they were designed to be weapons, to be unleashed upon the enemies of the Watchers. When the flood came, many of these creatures were buried beneath the ruins of their fallen civilizations. But the old texts warn that some may still be waiting beneath the sand, their eyes unblinking, their voices silent until the day their masters return. The unnamed horrors, that which should not be. And then there were things that were never named. Not all of the Watcher's creations have been recorded. Some were so monstrous, so vile, that even those who chronicled the horrors of that era dared not describe them. There are whispers of beasts with 1,000 mouths, of creatures that walk between worlds, of things that devour not flesh, but souls. Even now, in the darkest corners of the world, there are places where no one goes. Forests where the air is too still, caves where no echoes return, waters where no fish swim. These places are marked by silence, because something is waiting there, something that was meant to be forgotten, something that was never meant to exist. The Watcher's curse was thought to have ended with the Great Flood, but deep in the forgotten places of the earth, their creations still stir. Some are only legends, but some are real. And one day they may rise again. The horrors of the Watchers ravaged the earth. The Nephilim became warlords and tyrants, ruling over mankind, consuming entire cities in their insatiable thirst for flesh and power. God looked upon his creation, and he was enraged. The decree was final. A great flood would cleanse the world, washing away the cursed offspring and all that had been corrupted. But before the waters rose, the Watchers hid their most abominable experiments deep within the earth, beneath ancient mountains, in caverns never meant to be found. Their creatures were not destroyed. They were merely sleeping. The nightmare is not over. Mankind has long forgotten this story, but the world has not. In the farthest corners of the earth, in the untouched jungles and the deepest caves, there are whispers in the night, glowing red eyes watching from the darkness, inhuman figures standing in the mist. Travelers vanish without a trace. Hikers claim to see beasts that walk like men, but are not men. Fishermen disappear after hearing a song that no human should hear. They call them cryptids, Mothman, Bigfoot, Chupacabra, Wendigo. These creatures may not just be figments of folklore. They may be the remnants of ancient experiments, beings that were never meant to exist. Perhaps the Watchers were never fully destroyed. Perhaps they left something behind, a curse that mankind will never escape. Conclusion: the Watcher's curse remains. What was written in the book of Enoch was not just a myth. There are things that still walk among us, waiting to be awakened. Will you dare to seek them, or will you stay silent as our ancestors did?